Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you are spending your Thursday evening with us. Welcome to our Zoom Thursdays. You know, we've started this summer and they've been a huge hit to connect and provide information and be a virtual gathering option for our students and our families. So I really am appreciative to everyone jumping on. My name is Julie Mincy, and I serve Sanford as the Director of Greek Life. I will begin my 6th year this fall, so it's crazy that time has flown by and I've been a part of this community. So excited to spend some time with you. My partner for the office is here, so I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Julie. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you have joined us tonight. We're excited to get to talk to you guys. My name is Luis Aponte, and I serve Sanford as the Assistant Director of Greek Life. I've been in this role for about 2.5 years now, and I've really enjoyed working with the students in our community.
Awesome. Thanks, Luis. So I'm going to end our poll, and I hope that you get to see that. This is a new feature, so okay, I see most of you have daughters. We have a few folks out there with sons. Awesome. And it looks like most folks are interested in recruitment and what the Greek experience with COVID-19 this fall will look like. And we'll definitely cover that. We also are going to hear from some special guests. So we'll now introduce our guests for the evening, some Greek parents, and then get started in learning about their experience. Sam Burnett, how about you start us off? Please tell us a little bit about you and then also your student who's a Sanford Greek.
Hi, Julie and Luis and everyone. Thank you. I am a 7-year parent of 2 Greeks at Sanford. One has been out just a little under 3 years, and one is a rising senior. And I was also a Greek in my college about 100 years ago. And so I can tell you firsthand that you get out of anything what you put into it. And as parents, what I got out of the Greek life that I encourage with our kids is the connections and the lifelong friendships that you make, and not just your classmates. It might be a faculty member, or it might be an alumni of that Greek organization who could be a very important reference, or possibly your employer someday.
Great.
And so we were very supportive of both of our sons.
Great.
From that personal experience.
Okay, great. So you have the son experience with us tonight. Let's say hello to Hicks and Vicki Armour. Hello there. Tell us a little bit more about you and your daughter's experience. So we do have both sides tonight.
Yes, Alex had a wonderful experience. She, when she started at Sanford, she thought she wanted to go through recruitment, but she wasn't 100%. But she did it. And kept an open mind through the entire process, had a wonderful experience, loved the sorority she was in, and just graduated from Sanford this past spring. And yeah, like Sam said, they make lifelong friends, and it was a wonderful experience. Anything else to say?
I think she covered enough. I'll talk later.
Great, we want to hear from you. Okay, so while Hicks and Vicki, while you're unmuted, let's start with you. So the parents that are with us tonight are for the class of 2024. You said that Alex has recently graduated. So if you could go back in time and think about where you were as your student was entering college and a freshman, obviously all before COVID-19, where were you in a mindset of your student saying, hey, Mom, Dad, I think I want to go to Sanford and be a part of the Greek community? You know, what were you interested in learning about, and what were some questions, hesitations, things that were all on your mind as your student became a freshman Greek member?
Well, I'll start off since she talked earlier. I went through college and did Greek life and had a great experience and still have, as Sam was saying, made lifelong friends. But also, when I was in college, your fraternity was your major social outlet. And I think that I wasn't sure Alex wanted to do that, but I also felt like I was a little different person in that I made friends in classes. I had friends from different parts of, the other organizations. So I was more of a campus person than just a one fraternity person. And so what I thought was interesting that Sanford does, and this came out, and Alex really bought into this, is that Sanford puts that in balance with other organizations. So you have your dorm life, you have your classroom and your educational piece, and even maybe another club, because Alex was like in the science club or something like that. And so it was a balanced perspective. And I think that's A, what they should be, but B, is the way Sanford does it. And so I really thought that was a much better way to do. That way you have broad friends in multiple areas and not just one place.
And one of the things I want to point out, I went to a small girls' college, so we didn't have sororities. And, but I had heard stories at other schools how, Rush or recruitment was so involved and so intense and stressful. And I worried a little bit about that because, you don't want your daughter hurt. You want to protect them and all. But Sanford was not like that. And she went in with the mind going, if I will leave my mind open, God's going to guide me to the right one, if any of them. And so it was a very beautiful experience because she would call me at night because you're not supposed to talk about it to other people. So she'd call me at night and we would just rehash and she would tell me things. And so it was a really sweet experience. It really was. And I think Sanford has such a loving environment, and the girls or young ladies that Alex met through recruitment from all the sororities were so kind and loving. And like I said, she made friends, from wonderful friends with the sorority she did join. But she made some great friends from other sororities. And again, like Hicks said, she made friends that were never in a sorority. Half her friends were never in a sorority. So it's not one of those you have to be in a sorority to be in a group, so to say. But she had a great experience all the way around.
Thank you. Okay, Sam, let's shift to you. So you had two sons that were part of the Greek community. What were some things that were on your mind as they were interested, a part of being in the Greek community, particularly fraternities at Sanford? Were there differences in your son's interests and, thoughts on recruitment or fraternity life?
Well, coming from being on both sides of it, being a young, eager freshman and not knowing what's ahead of me, this crazy world I'm about to step into, and then being on the other side of it, being an upperclassman and being one of the recruiters, I had a little depth to share with them. And I think the advice I would give to parents being on both sides of that, I like what Vicki said. You don't have to have the pressure to be in one. You may go to recruitment or rush events, to several of them, and just feel like, maybe this isn't for me this first year. I may just kind of take a pass and focus on school the first year. So I think, first of all, take the pressure off that you have to go land that bid to join the first year. And secondly, relax and be yourself, and don't feel like you have to impress the whole crowd and be the life of the party. That comes across as a little too eager sometimes, and maybe a little too assertive, like the first date. Just be yourself, be comfortable, be a good listener, and good, the business skills we try to teach our kids at a job interview, good eye contact, firm handshake, respectful, be a good listener, and be yourself. And, when you ask a good question, be prepared for a good answer. What do you offer? How can you help our fraternity or sorority, grow and bring us skills and help us be a strong organization. And ask good questions. I think that the students on the other side doing the recruiting want to know you're interested in them, not just going out and landing a bid at one of the organizations.
Thank you. So we've talked a little bit about the recruitment experience, but obviously that's, kind of a heavy time in the fall semester, and your students have gotten involved in a wide variety of other Greek activities or events. So I'm interested in, how did you see your student grow or get involved in their Greek experience while they were here? Hicks and Vicky, we can start with you.
Well, Alex has always been a social person, but she got involved pretty quick. She got involved with the sorority with step sing toward the end of it. And one of the things that I got out of a fraternity, and I saw Alex do a little bit, was she got into the seeing how the sorority was run and managed, and looked at the management of it and said, she openly said, we should be doing this, we should be doing this. And so her leadership skills by observing others grew through the process, which I think was a really good thing for her.
And she had several jobs during recruitment that she really enjoyed, and she looked forward to it. She looked so forward to meeting the new young ladies that were going to be coming in and all, and that was always thrilling to her because she did that for a number of years.
That's so great. I love when I get to see students take on leadership roles and get to be involved and, really get to see their own ideas come through,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's recruitment or an event, philanthropy, service project. So thank you for sharing that. Sam, what about you? What area did your students get involved in, and where did you maybe see them grow through leadership or involvement, or any experience you could share about, full membership past their first year?
Okay. Julie, both of our guys got involved in leadership positions as early as their freshman year. You will find a lot of opportunity as new energy and new blood coming in to get those positions pretty early. It might be a freshman pledge class president or officer, or they may get you involved in alumni relations or the house manager duties very early. And like everything in your time management, you have to take what you can afford the time to commit to. And I guess that would be an important thing across the board is be sure you're managing your time and balance that with your school load. But the management positions, whether it was house manager or rush director, or in the fraternity it was commander or lieutenant commander. For some reason they don't call it president, vice president, but same thing. You get tremendous leadership avenues to work with the administration and campus staff, the facility maintenance and staff, and planning your events on campus for like the events on the quad for tailgate events and so on. And so you don't necessarily get that in English class. And so you get that through Greek life, and you can leverage that. And the other thing I think in Greek life, you're going to be, if you're in the house, you're going to be with 40 to 70 or 80 of your Greek life brothers and sisters. And you have to learn to coexist and do your job, taking out your share of the trash, and, help replenish the toilet paper and toothpaste with your suite mates. And that might be a 3-year event, not just that freshman year where sometimes you don't see your roommate after your freshman year. So you learn social skills, not just management skills. You learn social skills, I think, at a higher level because there's a bigger group and really higher stakes with a Greek group of 40 to 150 plus students that you have some skin in it with them and some responsibility to them as a member of that group.
That's great. I appreciate what y'all touched on. So as we close questions with our Greek parents tonight, let's just get some thoughts on general advice as a parent to a student. If you have any advice on being a Greek parent or just in general, you can also talk generally for those joining with us. Sam, since you're unmuted, we can stay with you. What ultimate advice do you have for parents watching and listening for the class of 2024?
Julie, I would say in that organization, in that Greek group, fraternity or sorority, it is, looking at in hindsight, it is a phenomenal avenue for building contacts and building bridges. And look at everyone you meet a little differently than if you were just in another club, because you're going to have that continual contact with your classmates, with involved alumni who aren't just showing up for the tailgate parties, but very involved, and faculty. You have people like you and Luis and Dr. Westmoreland and Randy Pittman, and all of your staff are so approachable and accessible to these students, whether they're an officer or not. And those contacts you build and those bridges you build can very well be a very strong connection for you during and certainly after you graduate. And our older son, Alex, has already had some of those experiences dealing with some of his favorite professors from not just a student, but from his role in Greek life, where some of those crossed over a little bit. I won't get into the details, but he was very savvy about leveraging those contacts and staying in touch. And from what I heard from these secondhand discussions, the professors love their former students to stay in touch with them and let them know how they're doing and ask questions. Who doesn't love being asked a question by your college-age kid? We love giving advice as parents, right? So the professors love it. I know that because I've seen it firsthand. Just build those relationships and be conscious about it. Don't miss the boat when you have those opportunities.
I love that. I think Sanford really is founded on relationships, forming connections, and building a group of people that you can really rely on. So thank you for sharing about your students' experience. All right, Hicks and Vicky, what about Alex? What advice, from your experience with her, would you give in regards to general advice as parents with students, or even from the Greek perspective for these parents of the class of 2024?
Well, Sam was so eloquent, it's hard to add to that. But the thing that I would add from our experience with Alex is that if you as a parent either were in a fraternity or sorority or weren't, I think that don't let what your own perception of fraternities is play through with Sanford. Sanford and Sam mentioned, Andy Westmoreland, he mentioned Randy Pittman, and those are the president and vice president of development. And he mentioned them because they built relationships with everybody. And Andy got to know Alex the first time we went down there and sent her a handwritten note. Sanford does things differently than most universities, and especially on fraternities. And the thing I would tell you is that as a parent, trust university to have run programs, both academic, social, and athletic, the right way. And so don't come with a preconceived notion of, I was in a fraternity and we did this, or I wasn't, but I thought that's the way it was. I would trust your child, your student, to see if it fits them or not. And Sam was very key about that. It's not for everybody, and it's also not for everybody the first year. So I would let them experience it, and I stood back and kind of watched and didn't try to influence it. It was a great experience for me, but Alex found it to be a great experience, but her experience was different. And each of your students are going to be different, and they'll experience it differently. And I would let them see if it's the right fit for them or not. And they will guide your student through it.
And I would ditto to what Hicks was saying, is that, you know, your daughter may decide, oh, I want to do a certain sorority. That's all my friends, my older friends are in that sorority. You know, Alex kind of did the same thing at first, thinking that, but as the nights went on, that was not the sorority she decided. And I just advise to the parents to be supportive, be a good listener. And if she doesn't end up in the sorority that she really, really wanted, maybe that's not where she was supposed to be. And so, you know, I think, and again, like, you know, just let it play out, but be supportive and be a good listener for your daughter and son. And one of the other things, not just relationships at Sanford, it is so fun, and it's been so fun to watch Alex, because she has her sorority sticker on her car and several other places. And she had met a lady not long ago, and she said, Mom, I don't think she really cares for me. And about the third time, the lady goes, are you a such and such? And Alex said, yes, ma'am, I am. She said, well, I am too. And they've been such good friends. And so, you know, you never know who you're going to meet that was in that same fraternity or sorority, and you become instant friends.
40 years ago.
40 years ago.
Wow, that's such a great story. I mean, relationships
So cute.
really are formed in a variety of ways through Greek
Mhm.
life. I love that. Thank y'all. Thank you so much, all three of you, for sharing your stories, your experiences. We appreciate you being on the call tonight. We're going to shift a little bit and focus on the live chat. So if you have a question for us, please put it in the chat section. We are going to take a look at the live chat for a few minutes, and then we'll also share some resources and kind of point you in a direction for where you can learn more online and other social media avenues. So, Luis, what do we have in our
Yes.
chat? Let's see.
Yeah, thanks for submitting questions, folks. Please continue to do so. So our first one we have is, can you describe how the parties or rounds during recruitment will look like, since we do have social distance regulations in place?
So I think the first place to start is that Sanford and our office has health and safety as our highest priority. So with that in mind and social distancing guidelines in place at Sanford and in our state, so we are re-looking at things. We are still hopeful, and I do say that with confidence and sincerity, that we're hopeful to still have some in-person recruitment events. That might shift in regards to time frame. We might need to add some rounds so that we can decrease event size, so that we can have less people in one space at a time. We are looking at new locations. Our chapter sizes are men and women are larger, and also not every group has a house on campus. So we likely will be doing some recruiting outside of the chapter facilities and utilizing outdoor space and utilizing large event space on campus. So in regards to how exactly that looks like, we don't have every single answer nailed down. What I will say is that if your student is interested, they can go online right now and register for both men's recruitment and women's. And that once they register, they're put into a group and assigned a group leader, which that person, the upperclassman who's leading them through the recruitment process, that will be their go-to person for information. And then if anything changes, it will directly come from them. Of course, we'll send out, mass emails that I'm sure are quite lengthy, but if they want that personal touch in knowing what is happening, when to be where, what's changing, they really need to get registered so they can get in a group and get that information.
Thank you. Okay, you hit on this a little bit earlier, but do all chapters have a house on campus? And if so, when are students able to qualify for living in those houses, and is the cost the same as a regular residence hall?
Great question. So let's see, all of our Panhellenic chapters have housing, and then 3 of our fraternities have housing. 2 fraternity housing options are run by the university. 1 is run by a alumni corporation. So there's a little bit of difference there, but all freshmen are required to live on campus. So freshmen will stay in freshman residence halls. We as Sanford, and I personally think that's a great plan so that freshmen can connect with freshmen on their halls. It's not just their chapter members. It's really an opportunity to expand their circles of friends. And so all freshmen will stay in the typical freshman facilities. And then sophomore year, they have the opportunity to move into the chapter houses. Now, each chapter has a different structure and process for getting to sign up and live in the house and what priority looks like, so some of those logistical details in getting to get into the house look a little bit different because each chapter has the governance to decide some of that on their own.
Awesome. How important are letters of recommendation for recruitment?
Great question, Luis. I think this is one of our most frequently asked questions. And so I think your answer from the men's side is it's not as typical. So for the folks with the men, you think they can probably relax and not necessarily submit a rec. Is that your advice?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You don't really see them at all with the men's group, so don't worry about those.
On the women's side, we see both options, or all options really. We see women get into chapters that don't have recommendation letters, and that's awesome. And we also see women who submit recommendation letters. So it's not a requirement. I would say only 1 per chapter. No need to have more than that. It's not a requirement to get a bid, and it's also not a guarantee if you have a recommendation letter. If you want to learn more, check our website out. The FAQ page on our website has details in regards to recommendations.
Very good. Okay, we have a few bid day questions. So they'd like to know when is bid day and what's the schedule for that look like? Is it going to change? And are parents still able to attend bid day like they usually do?
Wow, I know that what typical bid day looks like. I hope that you've seen some of our videos because, it's just one of the most exciting days. I think following social distancing guidelines, we can confidently say that we won't be allowing external folks on campus. So that would include parents or family friends. I think this year's bid day will just be chapter members, upperclassmen, and then the ones joining the organization. The logistics and details, we're working that out, so how we can keep folks in small groups, but still getting to have some in-person opportunities and connections. We have a wide variety of ideas, so some of that is going to continue to be planned out within the next few weeks or next month.
Yes. We have one question about recruitment dates, and have those changed since the original dates that have been released?
As of now, recruitment is still the week of, the 3rd week of classes. I do think we'll have to spread some things out so we can decrease size. Again, that's why I encourage, if your student's interested, to register so they can get into that group and learn from their group leader if anything changes in regards to what dates look like. We won't be shifting it any more forward or likely any more further into the semester. We might just be adding on and using the weekend prior, so we could have the Saturday and Sunday prior to Labor Day, so we can, use those full day events, because it's important that we do not start events on a weekday any earlier than 6 p.m. because of classes. So I hope that's helpful.
One more recommendation letter question. How will the woman know if their online rec has been received?
Yeah, so chapters are able to put like a check mark on their administration side if they've received recommendation letters. I think a lot of chapters are still doing that. So if your students once they're registered, don't see that they have their check mark there by whatever chapter it might be, do not panic. They're still working through things. Students are still, they haven't fully turned to the fall yet. So some of that will be coming in next month from the chapters. Luis, I see that I have some questions that got sent to me privately. So let me just take a quick look.
Sure.
Luis, what can you share about IFC recruitment and fall social distancing for the parents that are on? That was one of the questions.
Sure. So, as you may or may not know, the men's recruitment process is separate and usually happens a week or two after the women. So that usually is a very formal process where they register, they get to visit all 5 chapters the first day, and it narrows down. So with just social distancing guidelines and not being able to use chapter houses, we will be making the process a lot more informal than usual, which means we'll probably start off with more of a virtual open house where your students will get to hop on Zoom and meet the chapter leaders virtually that way, kind of be introduced to them. And then from there on out, they can be invited to informal recruitment events. So our hope is that our fraternities will host smaller group gatherings outside, whether it's, if Topgolf is open, going to do that, or grabbing a bite to eat off campus, or, playing sports outside or something like that, where we have less contact. So we would like for those schedules to be made public so that all students will be made aware of when and where these events are. And that way they can get to know the guys in that informal manner, and then maybe even be extended a bit that way. And then hopefully towards the end, when we were normally scheduling recruitment for the men, we'd have a couple more formal times where they can gather and have a more formal sit down moment, and then have the bid day as well. But that would also be no visitors to that. So yeah, it looks like it'll be a lot more informal. We're still working through it and gathering details, but for the most part, it'll be a lot more smaller, informal gathering and hangout, so that way they can get to know each other in that capacity instead.
Yeah, that's good. Someone asked about, do you have to formally join the recruitment process and register before you can attend events? So yes, I would say that's the encouragement, to register for recruitment, both men and women. And the reason why is that in our recruitment registration, we ask some questions to get to know your student. It's not just, hey, upload your resume, but we do want to have a good picture of them. We do want to know why they're interested in going through recruitment or joining a fraternity or sorority. So there are a few little moments or information pieces that we capture so that the chapters can get to know your student. Of course, that's nothing compared to face-to-face personal interaction, but we know that by registering that your student is formally interested and that we can get them in a group, start getting them connected to an upperclassman group leader, so that who has taken on that role to be a recruitment guide for the fall, and then also make sure that they have all the information that they need. So yes, registering is definitely encouraged. And then let's see, the questions about fees before you can get a bid. So the registration process does have a financial component to it. You'll answer some questions, pay that fee, and then we'll have the, the typical process that we're hoping for, in-person events and that type of thing before bid day. So I hope that answers
That's good.
that person. Let's see, one more. Oh, somebody has hand sanitizer access, so great. I will reach out to you.
Awesome.
Any other questions that we haven't asked, Luis?
Yes. We have a few about attire and asking, when will P&Ms learn what they need to wear, and also are formal clothes required? I can go ahead and answer that on the guy side. I see a couple of questions about suits. So normally, yes, the men do wear suits for part of the week. I'm pushing to make him more casual, maybe wear like a golf shirt and khakis instead, or khaki shorts instead. But I think it's a good idea for every student to have a suit just in case. We're not sure that our normal social events can happen, but if there is a formal or date party, they'll need a suit for that. So they'll need one regardless at some point. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, obviously, but usually they do wear a suit or a sport coat and slacks. But that information is still pending, but we will get that information out to them immediately. Like Julie mentioned, if you register for recruitment, you get mass emails of information sent to your inbox, and those will be coming out here shortly. So make sure they do that. What about the woman, Julie, and what they need to wear?
Yeah, same. We're gonna most likely be doing all of our recruitment events outside or in larger venues like our gyms or indoor, any athletic facility that we, would be blessed with using. So we will likely encourage some more casual events. Of course, we do provide one t-shirt option for the first round, and then, we might be outside in a tent, just in more like a casual sundress and sandals or comfortable shoes to be able to walk in grass. So things are shifting, but, I think us being able to provide in-person options, even though we casualize the dress, I think at least we get to spend time with people in person. So that's our goal.
Absolutely. Okay, one last question for us.
Okay.
On average, what is a sorority's chapter size and pledge class size?
So we do see our Panhellenic groups at about the average of 227. That was our fall 2019 average. We are anticipating about that average again this fall. And then pledge class sizes for the women's groups are about 65 to 75. It kind of depends on how things shake out at the end of recruitment. So Luis, will you share with the same numbers for the guys groups?
Yes. So with the fraternities, it varies. They don't have to have a set quota or cap. So we said the average chapter size is around 85 because some chapters have upwards to 100, 110, and some only have around 50. And same with the pledge class size. It usually averages around 20 to 30 men per year is what we see. And then we have another council called MPHC, and those groups are much smaller. Those groups usually have 5 to 10 members usually.
That's great. So Luis, I know that people have asked some questions in the chat, but we've also had a previous Zoom call with parents. So will you tell us about resources so that if we didn't answer everything that might be on their brain, they could go find the answers?
Absolutely, yes. So we do have great resources to help you stay in touch with us and to find more information. First and foremost, our website just has an abundance of information. So please go over to samford.edu/GreekLife. And there are several different tabs on our website that will tell you about our campus community and the chapters we have, more information about recommendation letters or finances and scholarships, that kind of information. So click on every single tab to read every single page. There's some great info on there. Also, make sure to look out for our social media. We know that's a great way that your students definitely stay involved. I know you guys also may follow us. So you can search Samford Greek Life on Facebook or at Samford Greeks on Instagram. And every council has their own Instagram account as well. So if you go to the Samford Greeks Instagram, you can see those in our bio. Those are listed there. And you can click on those and follow those as well. Another a great app resource that you can add to your tool belt if you'd like is one called Guidebook. We haven't mentioned this much earlier before, but Guidebook is an app that we use. You can download the app called Sanford Guides in your app store, whether you have an Android or iPhone. Just look up Sanford Guides where you find your apps. And once you have that app downloaded, you can search for Sanford Fraternities 2020 or Sanford Sororities 2020. And there's a great guide in there, and it talks about what to wear, a schedule that will change ultimately probably, but some great information about the chapters in that app as well. It's more a way to have your information on the go in an app and all in one place. And then lastly, of course, Julie and I want to talk to you too. So please email us. You can reach us at greeklife@sanford.edu. We check that email account every single day, or every work day, let me clarify. And we'll be happy to contact you in that way and answer any questions you may have via email.
That's great. Thank you, Luis. I hope you'll check out those resources and hopefully learn a little bit more and reach out to us. Please don't hesitate. Thank you so much to Hicks and Vicki and Sam. Do any of you have a final word of advice for these parents as we sign off? Sam?
Hey guys, I would just, man, Julie and Luis and my cohorts covered this so well. The best thing I heard as a parent going back and reliving those days was be a supportive, encouraging parent, good listener, and not too much advice until they ask for it is usually the best advice, right? And because it's a whole new world for them, and this is a historic return to college with this whole COVID handicap that we're dealing with. So you guys are doing a great job finding a balance so there can be some socialization, but safely.
Thank you.
Just, be the encouraging parent that I know you are for taking the time to be on this call tonight, because they need you more than they will tell you.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Vicki.
Well, I have to say, Sam again covered it very, very well, and I completely agree with him. And to the parents, don't ever hesitate to reach out to faculty, to staff. They truly are there for you and the student. And but enjoy the journey. And 4 years goes by very fast, but enjoy every moment of it.
I would just add a couple of things. One, I think you should trust your student to decide if it's for them or not, and be supportive of them in the process. Like, don't push them in or pull them out, let them make the decision. I say that with confidence because I've seen how Sanford does things. And I think, and Julie was really good answering the questions. She has probably 80% of the answers and 20% is in flux, but they'll work it out. And so I think if you trust your student, if you trust Sanford, and you trust God, I think it'll come together.
Yeah.
And one other thing, we on Zoom are learning to do it. Your students, this is nature for them. And I think that the virtual piece for an older guy with gray hair, I've found you learn a lot. I think they may be able to make a better selection, because as Julie was talking, she said, they're going to meet the leaders of the fraternity. When you come to a party, it's hard to circulate. When it's a little more structured through Zoom, I think they're going to find out who's in that fraternity, what they do, or sorority, and I think they'll be able to make better choices. So I think that rather than worry about the virus, we want to be safe, but I think it might bring a different aspect, and they learn more about what they're getting into and decide if it's right for them or not.
Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I'm grateful for your time. Reach out to us if you need, but this will be the end of our time together. Thank you so much.